it some level of authority, which is also very concerning.
Sure. Okay, let's try some of these myths then. The virus
Sure.
is a living organism that we can kill.
It's not living at all. It's like a protein genetic program sheathed in a sheet of lipid or fat. And it's completely inactive until it comes into contact with a human or animal cell, and then it activates. What it does is it inserts itself into the genetic information and churns out lots of copies of itself. So you can't kill it, but if you leave it long enough, it will decay on its own. As in any other kind of protein matter, it will just decay given enough time.
Okay, that one's busted. People are most contagious before they even know they have the virus.
Well, that's a very common one, and you see that on the internet a lot, on social media. And people are infectious from the time that they pick up the virus. But we know that they are most infectious when they're producing droplets, and droplets are produced by coughing and sneezing. And so it's true that patients would mostly be symptomatic when they're manifesting these symptoms, when they're manifesting coughs, etc. So there is some truth. You are infectious anytime, and you may be infectious even after the symptoms have passed, but you are not most infectious before you know about it.
Okay, let's try this one. If delivery drivers wear gloves, they won't spread it.
Well, we don't know what they've done with those gloves.
Well, yeah.
So we don't know if they've coughed or sneezed into them. We don't know if they're changing gloves between deliveries, for example. And that may mean that there's a big line of infection into an otherwise uncompromised house. So people are getting very good at isolating, and actually deliveries and parcels, etc., are one form of entry into the house that we might not otherwise consider. And we should take suitable precautions. I think leaving packages for 24 hours has been suggested, and that seems like a good bit of advice. It only seems to live on cardboard or paper for 24 hours. But dealing with shopping that tends to come in plastic bags, I would suggest maybe using plastic rubber gloves to actually handle the shopping and to dispose of all packaging in a safe way that's not going to compromise you, and to wash your hands after you've done that.
All right, so rubber gloves with plastic bags and shopping, but if all those people out there getting, products sent online through cardboard boxes and so on and so forth, leave them for 24 hours.
Well, I can't see how it can be wrong to be overcautious, basically.
Sure.
It's worthwhile not trying to come into the virus in any way, basically, come into contact with it in any way, even on a package. And if you get the virus doesn't care how you've got it, basically.
Okay. What about this one? The virus can't be passed on by food.
Well, the virus can be passed on any surface, including food, basically. So it is a good idea to clean fruit and vegetables with smooth surfaces, or rough surfaces really, to try and reduce any kind of virus that's on it. And we know soap and water is very effective. It breaks down the fatty layer on the outside of the virus very effectively. And if it's just a naked protein molecule, it's of no risk whatsoever. And equally, heat. If you cook food at 65 degrees or above for a minimum of 4 minutes, that will kill the virus. That will kill most viruses. So thorough cooking and thorough washing are the ways to ensure that our food remains safe. But as in any other surface, it can bring the virus into contact with us and infect us.
Sure. I mean, what do you think about the way that the mainstream media have been covering this whole pandemic? I mean, some suggestions that perhaps it's been over the top, that it's been scaremongering. But we're looking at the figures now, we're looking at the graphs, and it's a horrific story. Do you think we potentially have been contributing to some of the myths that are out there?
Well, I think it's difficult to know what information to give. It's been difficult even for doctors, basically, but I think there's a very basic core message, and it comes down to social distancing and washing, and there really isn't very much clever about that. But some of the things I've heard about, drinking a lot to wash the virus down your throat and into your stomach, that's complete nonsense, and that continues to be spread around on various groups, basically. And there are a lot of proponents to it who are very, very strict adherents. They think it's very much true, and it's not, and it's putting people at risk. So I think that there hasn't been I think scaremongering is as such. I think that the naysayers who've been saying that it's a big risk, it's a huge risk, have been proven correct. It is, and it's affecting every single corner of the earth. So I don't think there's enough that we can do now to ensure that we don't spread it any further. So I think if 90% of us actually isolated at home, then this, I hear, would be over within a matter of weeks. We're not doing that. It's closer to 50% is my understanding.
All right, we'll leave it there. Dr. Gero Bayard, it's good to get your perspective and busting some of those ridiculous myths out there. Thanks very much indeed for joining us.
It's
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Take care.